All right, welcome back, everybody, to Real Estate Today. We are going to have a fun one. And again, if you haven't watched this before, my name is Jeff Beggins, and I'm here with my brother from another mother today,
Mike Puma.
Mike Puma. My brother Craig is doing other stuff today. So you got the Jeff and Mike coming at you today. So background, if you guys don't know who we are, where we are, what we're doing, we're based out of Florida. We've got the largest C21 office in the whole Southeast U.S. We've got several hundred agents. We've been doing this for 30-something years, of close to 70,000 transactions. We've been through it all, right? And don't say that in a bragging way, just say it in that we know what's going on way. And we're in an industry that's having some waves, and there's some issues, and there's a lot of people with their head in the sand. And we just kind of want to talk real about what's going on in the industry and where agents are need a little bit of help. And even you as the consumers, we have a lot of consumers watching. This is going to relate with you guys too as well. So topic today is there's 5 things that we always push with our agents about how to make sure that you end up getting successful into this industry. And there's 5 components. We're going to drill into a couple of them really deep today. And it's more about life. So the 5 things we're talking about is mindset, motivation, skills, action, and accountability. Those are the 5 things. And that's it, right? For me, I'm a simplification guy. And if you don't have the right mindset, right, nothing else matters. You're going to have a crappy life and a really crappy business, right? That's just a simple, and it's not easy. It's very difficult. That's the hardest one. That's why it's number 1. Then you have to have motivation or a motive to take action, right? And then if you don't have something driving you forward, all the skill in the world's never going to come to you because you don't have the reason to go work. And then if you're not taking action, because you're not going to take action if you don't feel confident in your skill set, and therefore it's just going to all crumble. And then once you have the right mindset, the right motivation, you get them skills, you start taking action, then you have to have accountability or you're going to fail, right? Because we constantly need that reinforcement. So that's a summary of it. But Mike, let's dig into the first one. The first one and the first 2 are kind of, to us, I know how passionate we are about this one. Mindset, and motivation. So let's talk. What do you open up the stage on this from a mindset perspective?
Yeah, I mean, mindset is so important, right? And I think it starts with clarity, because in order to get into the right frame of mind, you have to know exactly what you want or what you want to work towards. And if you don't, and you're not and it's not something you actually want, it's something that you're telling yourself you want, something that you think you should want, something that your boss, your spouse, someone think wants you to want, right? If it's one of those things, you're never going to actually do any of the other steps. You're never actually going to take action. You're never going to hold yourself accountable because you don't want it. So in order to get into the right mindset, my take on it is you have to have a clear goal that you actually want, right? And that could, some people want to set that goal really, really high. I say, I don't care. As long as it's going to result in you getting committed to it, which is going to result in you actually taking action and holding yourself accountable to it, which is the other steps, then I'm good with it, right? So, whatever that is for you, that's what it is. Now, I think there are things that we can look at historically and that are probably in other aspects of our lives that we just don't translate to the mindset when it comes to our business or comes to other financial decisions we're making as consumers or anything else, right? And I think if you think about, I think all of us have known someone, or maybe even yourself, who's gone through addiction, right? If you're addicted to something, and in this case, let's say it's a negative addiction, it's a drug, it's alcohol, it's something, right? It's sad to watch, but let's think about the mental process of this, right? What happens to your mindset when you are addicted to something? You literally, your whole mindset changes. There's a shift that happens because you get addicted to that feeling, right, of whatever that thing gave you, and you are going to chase that because that is your clear goal. You, unfortunately, in that case, you have clarity about something very, very negative, and your mindset shifts to this point where you are going to do whatever it takes to get that thing, right, and get that feeling. And so now, if we take that though, and we back off of maybe something as extreme as drugs or alcohol or something like that, let's think about that in other aspects of our lives. What about this right here? How many of you are addicted to this?
The whole
addicted to
world.
social media, addicted to looking at it, right? Why? Because you like the feeling it gives you when you open it up and there's a notification and you got a comment on your video, or you something liked it, or whatever, right? There's a dopamine response that happens in your mind that gets you addicted to that. Now, if we can just understand that really all that is it's a mindset, right? It is something that shifted, that we get a feeling we're very clear on, and now all of a sudden we're willing to go take action. I'm willing to open this up. I'm willing to click on the device. I'm willing to actually go through like I'm taking action, right? Now, then it becomes accountability. So I think we just have to figure out that we have the capability. All of us have an addiction, quote unquote, to something. Now it's a matter of how do we figure out how to build that addiction around something really positive, like our business, like a financial goal. If your goal is to buy a house, if your goal is to upgrade a house, if your goal is to do one of those things, how do we shift that mindset into something to get addicted to something positive?
That's a tough topic, right? Because let's dig in a little deeper, right? When you use anything from a substance to a motivational factor or something, and back to the negative aspect of it, if you use drugs or alcohol, right, you do it to change your state, right? Your state, but your state of what? It's your state of mind, right? You use it to literally change your state of mind, which is your mindset, right? And sometimes it's to numb yourself from feelings you don't want to feel. And sometimes it's to reattach to something you want to feel. And they do that for you. So it 100% goes back to the feelings, right? And it's negative or positive, and it becomes an escape, or it becomes an escape, right? So when you're trying to focus on your mindset, it has to come down to an addiction. It's got to come down to, you're going to have to go through doubt, fear, and anxiety, right? No matter what you're doing, in order to get into anything new. And that first time you went to the gym, that first time you decided to go for a run, right? That first time you decided to go knock on a door, that first time you decided to get into the business, right? It was riddled with doubt, fear, and anxiety and excuses. And a lot of times you might have tried to start and you failed and you didn't do it. And the next day you tried again and tried again. Some people gave up and never tried again, right? And then other people were able to have their mindset saying, I know how it's going to feel and I'm going to do it anyway, right? I'm going to push through it. I'm going to get it going. So let's go through that. So in this business, right, it's tough, right? It really is. It's a tough mental game that every entrepreneur goes through the same thing, right? We just happen to do it in the real estate industry primarily, and it is tough. It's tough. I did an exercise with the agents over here the other day, and we were talking about mindset, shockingly. And I said, let's go through an exercise. Let's go through the mindset of why now is a shitty time to buy and sell, right? Give me the reasons. Give me the reasons why the market sucks right now and why people aren't buying.
Rates
And
are up. Yep, I'm sure they
rates
have all
are,
sorts of things.
and it came so fast. It came so fast. The rates are down. Nobody's buying. It's a tough time of the year, and it's hot, and the things that people aren't in town anymore. And just boom, 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 boom. So the mindset was so quick to go justify negativity, right? To justify lack of action, to make yourself feel better by not being as productive as you know you could be. Now, then we went to a different shift and said, okay, let's talk about the mind shift of why right now is where fortunes are being made, right? And these smart people are capturing market share left and right, and buyers are making huge scores in the properties that they're buying in this short term time that we're in right now. I call it, from fishing reference, it'd be kind of a slack tide, right? Tide's not coming in, tide's not going out. It's that slack tide where interest rates kind of suck. Nobody's sport moving, right? They're just not changing around for fun because interest rates are an impediment. So it's just that time. But when you shift your mind to say, okay, sellers are screwed right now because there's not many buyers, and you can't just throw a sign out in front yard for sale by owner and sell it. It just doesn't work, right? There's tons of expireds, there's tons of for sale by owners. Clients need us now more than ever from a sales perspective, because homes need to be sold. They need to be packaged, they need to position, they need to be marketed, they need to be represented, they need a proper presentation, they need somebody that understands how to communicate with people, right? Because you have so few at bats with a potential buyer. You better be damn good at what you do, when you're doing this, or else you're going to blow it, right? So the opportunities are here. Buyers are coming in, getting huge concessions, getting rate buy downs to cheaper than they would be in a normal rate market, right? So the wealth that's being created right now by smart buyers is ridiculous, right? And from sellers, you got to change your mindset. You might not get everything that you want. You had to concede a little bit with some concessions, but you're going to go do the same thing on the property you're about to go buy, right? So the smart money is actually transacting right now. But we need to be the ones to explain this, empower, educate, encourage, right? Or B3. That's what we do, that this is the right time. But when you have that mindset that, man, people need us, and the people that are lucky enough to transact right now are in such a better position than they will be had they waited 9 months for this whole thing to be righted back, right? This is the smart people. So if you come into that mindset of, man, I need to go move, right? This is the right time. Or, man, I need to go help. I need to tell every buyer who's waiting that that's stupid, right? Let me explain to you why you should think differently and why some of our smartest buyers are buying right now. And then you get passionate about that, and then that becomes your motivation, right? But it started with that mindset. If you couldn't recontextualize the world, right, is really what we do to ourselves all day long. If you can't get excited and get your mindset shift right, that this is the time to go help a bunch of people, then what are you doing, right? What are you
Well,
doing?
for me, I like to play on both ends of the spectrum, right? So one thing I learned at a pretty young age, just playing sports, right? I was a pitcher, and one thing that really helped me when I got to University of Tampa, I had a pitching coach who actually works for us as an agent as well. But Sam Militello, kind of one thing he always preached was that you need to always balance one side of your mind with the other, right? And so I kind of learned to play extremes. And what I mean by that is on one end of our spectrum, we have mindset, right? Our state of mind. And then the other side of it is accountability. And to me, those two balance each other because everything that question, right, to the agents, what that's kind of creating their state of mind right now. What did they spill out at you right away? Those are all excuses,
Mm-hmm.
right? Think about the last time you tried to get yourself to do something you didn't really deep down want to do yet. Wake up early and go to the gym. Wake up early and go on a run. What happened? You started making excuses. If you didn't do it, you made excuses.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what happens because you don't want to be held accountable. Now, one thing I've always tried to do is the second that I feel myself trying to not do something, trying to make an excuse, I always go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and say, look at accountability. And for me, accountability is very simple game of, can I control this? Right? And am I in control of the outcome? And if I am, then that means I have the power to fix it. I have complete power to make a decision that's going to be the right decision or the wrong decision. So I want accountability, right? I try and, if I can instill anything as a dad into my kids, the one thing that I've preached since they were 3 years old, and if you ask either of my kids, they'd probably throw up about it, is accountability. I hate excuses. I hate complaining. Control what you can control. And so for me, if I just play the accountability game, if you can get to a spot where you have ultimate accountability to say, you know what, I want everything to be my fault. Because if the home's not selling and I can look in the mirror and say, you know what, that's my fault. I didn't have a transparent conversation with the seller. I didn't set the right expectations. I didn't price the property right. I didn't market it enough. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And you start taking accountability versus saying, oh, the rates are up and this is why and that. No. Do you control that? Do you control how well you market the property? Do you control the conversation you have with the seller up front to let them know what the market is actually doing? Do you control those things? Yes, you do. So that's great though, because that means that I have the power to change it. So if something's not going the way that I want, but it's my fault, that means that I can make a different choice. I can make a change that is going to produce a potential different outcome. So I want everything to be my fault. The shit that scares me is the stuff I can't control, right? I can't control if there's a black swan event around the election. I can't control the weather tomorrow. Those things are out of my control, right? Yep. So I don't stress about those things. So I think to get into the right mindset, we have to understand state of mind is such a temporary thing. and it changes like this, right? You could wake up today, not have had a good night rest, and your state of mind is probably not in its optimal spot. Then all of a sudden you get a phone call from a developer who's like, "Hey Jeff, you want this new project?" I'm thinking, "Oh, okay." All of a sudden something shifts and now we're in a complete different state of mind. But at the end of the day, if you can recognize those highs and those lows in your mindset and then go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and say, okay, is that something that's not going the way I want? Is that something I can control? What choice got me there? What decisions did I make that got me there? Now, what can I do differently that's going to get me to where I want to be? The second you can get to that spot, in my opinion, everything will change.
I agree. And then that ties into motivation a lot too, right? For me, I joke a lot that I have an addiction to real estate projects, right? And I do, but I have an addiction to the point we made earlier, the feeling that comes as a result of projects being completed, right? They provide options, right? All income does is provide options, right? The options are what I want to do this weekend. If I have money sitting around, I've got a lot of options of what I want to do this weekend. I can go wherever I want to go. I can do whatever I want to do. If I don't have any money, then I can't go where I want to go and I can't do everything I want to do. All money is options. That's it. And I'm going to do stuff for the kids this summer or I'm not, right? Or I'm going to do expensive things or not. It's not about expensive things, but it's the experience and the feelings that come with it. And that kind of becomes an addiction as well,
Yep.
right? As you know, every summer, my family, there's a home over in Europe and the kids like to go every year. Now I have choices on how to take them there, right? And I have choices about the experience when we're over there, and it's a cash flow difference, right? About how I'm doing.
Sure.
And you could book the Groupon seat with the chickens in the bottom of the plane for cheap, or you can go get a
I know
nice
that
seat,
was an option. That sounds super exciting.
right? Or you can get a nicer seat, or you can get the nicest seats, right? And there's the difference is cash. It's the experience that's related to those type of things. And what do you want to do for yourself? Like, what do you want to invest in for your kids? Do you want to say, for me, it feels really good to fund a little account for the kids every year, knowing that the feeling is comfort that the kids won't have to stress as much later. Right. But so I'm addicted to that feeling. If I didn't do that every year, it wouldn't feel good. I get addicted to having the excess cash flow so I can do things like that because it makes me feel good. Right.
Yep.
So that's the addiction kind of we're talking about. And what do you want to go do? Where do you want to go? Like we're going overseas to look at a business opportunity at the end of this month. Right. That's has opportunities, right? Has a cost. And we can do that if we didn't have options to go do that.
Right.
So it's having that experience and that motivation to have those reserves to be able to explore, and then when things start working to be able to double down, triple down on what's working and scale success, right? But you got to have that ability if you get addicted to the feeling. I know we're addicted to the journey, right? We're addicted to little successes that come in the email every day with so and so joined the company, so and so joined the company, so and so joined the company. So, right, those are the little things, the little dopamine hits that keep you going along the way. And then you get somebody in a new region comes on board and they start hiring. It feels good to see other people's lives changing from a result of what we've done in our minds, right? And our mindset could be easy. This is a shitty market. We should scale back everything because it's really slowing down. But that's a choice. That's an easy choice,
Yeah.
right? But we don't do that because the mindset is no. This is the time to grab massive market share from an agent mindset, from a company mindset, from a broker mindset, from an entrepreneurial mindset, right? It's be greedy when people are fearful, be fearful when people are greedy, right? That's the old Buffett quote, right? So that's the so motivation.
But that addiction, right, is getting addicted to that feeling is the important part, because I think sometimes we get confused about being interested in something versus being committed to something. And when you're truly addicted to that feeling, like you have to have it, right? And you're going to do whatever it takes. The process may shift. And this kind of became very clear to me during COVID, because I like to lift, I like to train, I like to do those things. And literally overnight, right, during part of COVID, I was getting dressed, and never forget, I was getting dressed to go to the gym, and Courtney comes in. She goes, "Where are you going?" I was like, "The gym." She's like, "The gyms are closed. You can't go to the gym." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, they're all closed. Call over there. They're not open. They're not allowed to have people." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And so all of a sudden, I had to find a new way because, and I did, right. I bought resistance bands. I started doing stuff at home, and I was able to still capture that feeling to the point where what I realized was I thought I was committed and addicted to lifting weights at a gym. No, I wasn't. I was addicted to the feeling. And so all of a sudden, I was forced to find a new process, something else to get me to that same feeling. And I was able to do whatever it took to get to that feeling. And I did, right? And then eventually, I said, you know what? I'm never going to have this happen again. So I slowly started building out a home gym so that COVID 2.0 could hit tomorrow and I still have a full gym, right? Because that's what I wanted. But my point being is that the process, when you're truly addicted to something, you have to take a step back and say, okay, why though? Why do I want to go to the gym every day? What is it, right? Oh, it's this feeling I get. Awesome. So then what gets me to that feeling today may not be the same thing that gets me to that feeling tomorrow. But as long as I truly am addicted and committed to that feeling, I'm going to find something that gets me that. And that's the key, right? And I think that's where some of us break down. So for any of you that have gone to a conference, you've watched, David Goggins, you've watched Gary Vee, you've watched these motivational type characters give a speech, and you're like, yeah, that's it. Tony Robbins, and you leave that Tony Robbins event and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go crush it. And then you don't do anything, right? And there's people watching. I guarantee you've watched a video, you get pumped up, you leave a conference, you're like, that's it. And then you take zero action. It is because that is motivation without action, which is just nothing, right? It really is. It's a short term, short lived, non committal. You were interested, you like the idea, you like the feeling that that conference gave you, but you're not addicted to anything more than that that's actually going to get you committed to doing whatever it takes to get it. So motivation without action is pointless, right? It literally will get you nowhere. So you have to have motivation, you have to have something, but it's got to be something you're committed to. And then the action you take is almost irrelevant, but you got to take action to obviously get there.
Because in this business, we're seeing shifts, right? In this industry a lot right now. If your whole world was buying Zillow leads and Realtor.com leads, and that ran your business, you've got a rude awakening coming if you haven't had it already. That business is going to dry up completely. So if you're motivated and you're addicted to the feeling of success, you have no choice but to create a new home gym, right? You've got to create a new way to go talk to people, different people, right? Which means that if your motivation is there, then now you have to hone a different skill, right? And take more actions with this different skill. And you're not going to do that unless your motivation is strong enough. And if your mindset is strong enough to say, hey, it is what it is. Things shifted on me. I'm still going to provide for my family. I'm still going to have great savings. That's not going to change. I'm just going to have to go do this instead of this. No big deal. But I don't really know how to do that. So I better spend some time today and block out some calendar to watch videos on how to do this. Maybe I can shadow somebody. Maybe I can really dig into it. Maybe I can get a coach. Maybe I could get a better broker. Maybe I can leverage the broker that I have and say, man, I really need to pivot. Where do you think I should go? Help me. Build me a plan, right? What should I be working on? Will you please hold me accountable, right? Because if you're motivated, that's great. But if you don't have the skill, you've got to be strong enough to recognize that you don't have the skill, but that's okay. If I had to go into the pipe welding business tomorrow, right, I'd figure it out. I don't know shit about pipe welding, but I'd figure it out. I'd find somebody who's really good and I'd go spend time with them and I would bring value and I would learn, right? And before you know, I'd be pretty damn good at it. But I would suck at it in the beginning, but I'd have to pivot, learn a new skill, have a mindset that I'm going to be fine in the pipe welding business as I am in real estate. And how am I going to do that? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out because I'm going to provide for my family. And then I seek out that skill and then I take action, whatever seems to be that action. And then I'm going to hold myself accountable because I have to provide because I like the feeling of having alive children, right? That's a
Yeah,
good thing, right? It's that pivot.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, action is so important. Skill set, right? Things got to shift, and then they're going to shift again, right? I mean, this isn't the last shift we're ever going to see. So you got to ask yourself: do you plan on being? If you listen, if you're retiring in 6 months, if you're out of here, right? I get it. But if you plan to be in this business another 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, guys, this is gonna shift up and down. 2020, right? We stopped talking about for sale by owners almost entirely.
Right.
Why? Because the reality was they were putting a sign in their yard and getting 37 offers. Now,
Right.
is there an argument that they still should have had a professional guiding them through the contract so they don't get screwed on the deal terms? Yeah, you can make that argument. Is that something that was going to fly with most of them? No, because they were sticking the sign in their yard and their wife's like, "You're a genius. Oh my God, we don't have to pay an agent fee."
Yep.
But guess who's back? For sale by owners, right? So the reality is everything goes in cycles. And if you are addicted to what got you, if you're romantic about what got you to where your business was, right, you're in trouble. And so I always get really nervous when I see somebody who's really romantic about what got them there, because that may not be what gets you to the next phase of your business.
It will 100% will not.
Right. So that scares me because I see it a lot. And we had it. I mean, even we had one agent who had 70% of his business was coming from one lead source. They had a legal shift overnight where they were in the insurance and the mortgage business. Literally overnight, the US government said, "Hey, by the way, you can't do that anymore. So you need to get out of the referral business because you're accepting illegal referral fees." Overnight, that lead source went away. So if you're that agent who was making a very good living, 70% of his business disappeared overnight, right? So all of a sudden he had to pivot and shift. Now he did that, but the point being is that could happen to any single one of us, right? And so if you're romantic about that thing, then that's going to be devastating and you're going to have a really hard time. But if you're just addicted to the feeling, that was a method to get you there. Now all of a sudden it's, hey, that's not working. Okay, what is working? Who is transacting right now? Who is moving? Well, people who really need you, because the people that are doing business right now, who are transacting right now, for the most part, are people that have to. They have life happening to them. They lost their job. They're going through a divorce. They're having a kid, right? These are emotional things. Someone passed away, right? And now they're in probate. There are so many life events that are happening. Okay, well, great. Those things are happening. That's who's transacting. Cool. Now, how do I bring value to those people? Let me go build out that skill set. Let me pivot, right? The old Friends joke, pivot. You got to pivot, and you got to go find a new way, new thing that's going to get you to that addiction, right? Get you to that satisfaction of that addiction. And if you can do that, you're going to be fine. If you don't want to do that, you put your head in the sand, you refuse to do it, you're in very big trouble over the next 12 months.
If you're selling in a market that's slowed down right now, and there's a lot of, remember, there's no real estate market, guys. There's micro markets all over the place. If your micro market sucks at this moment, which there are many micro markets that suck right now, and what I mean by that, they only suck for one side of the equation all the time, right? So if you were working in Pine Tree Estates and everything you had was just flying, multiple offers in a great school district, and everything's fine, and it's just a nice community and everything's awesome, but now all of a sudden there's 18 homes on the market and there used to be 2, and the days on the market's now 93, and you have 4 listings and they're sitting, you're in trouble, right? That micro market is in pain right now, and it's not going to solve itself quickly. It will solve itself when rates come down, but that's not going to happen until election time, right? We're going to have a 6 month of this crap before things happen, right? So now you have a decision to make. Am I going to sit here and suffer? I hope you have some savings. Have at it. Take a break. Enjoy it, right? Or if you actually have some financial demands and some motivation to make money, go onto the MLS system. Which marketplace is transacting right now? It's probably a lower price point than maybe the one you're in. Who cares? Maybe you have to do 4 deals instead of 2. No big deal. But if it's popping, it's popping. Figure out where it's popping and go where it is. You don't have the same skill set. You know how to find listings. You know how to find sellers. You just have to go take the action, but only if your mindset's proper and you have the motivation to change your skill set, right? So there's no excuse. There's still what 4.2 million home sales this year are predicted. It's a million fewer than last year, but there's still 4 million of them. There's people are getting married, people are getting divorced, people are having kids, people are dying every day, right? It just happens. It's called life. So those transactions are going to be happening. And you know what? Interest rates are high. Affordability is down. Where is affordability okay? There's neighborhoods around that's a lot of people can still afford to buy in. The majority of people, what's the average sales price in your neighborhood? Sell there, right? That's where you go. If you're in a super high little micro niche, right? Maybe it's not transacting right now. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But you have to be smart enough, self-aware enough to know if what you're doing is providing enough return for you. And if not, do you have enough savings to ride it out? Or are you gonna what are you gonna pivot to go adjust right now? And that goes for I don't care what industry you're in, right? You got to find
Keyword, no excuse. And again, I'll go back to where this started. If you can get to a spot where you stop making excuses, you will be fine. Right? It literally, it's my biggest pet peeve as a dad. It's my biggest pet peeve as a coach. It's my biggest pet. Do not make excuses. Right? I have a thing with my youth baseball teams that if they strike out, they make an error, anything like that, they just turn to a teammate, they turn to a coach, they do this, and that literally is our symbol to say, my bad, next play. Right? That tells me they acknowledge it was their fault, they made a mistake, boom, next play, we're good. Right? They don't do that, we got problems because that means they're not taking accountability. Yep. We don't make excuses, right? The amount of times I've had kids come back into the dugout and tell me, well, that wasn't a strike. What happened on the first two? Oh, the one down the middle that you didn't swing at, that wasn't a strike? Okay, that was a strike. So whose fault was that? Who put yourself into that count, into a position to allow the umpire to make that call? You did, right? This is the accountability. And if I can have a 10-year-old take accountability, right, when they fail, then we certainly should be able to do it as adults. So you got to acknowledge that if something's not going the way that you want it to go, it is more than likely your fault, but that is a very good thing because it means you have the power to fix it. And so if you can get to that spot, you're going to be fine. If you can't and you're someone that complains and makes excuses and comes up with something new every single time, and it's not me, it's the market, it's the rate, and my sellers suck, and blah, blah, blah. Hey, you took that deal, didn't you? If I had a conversation right now with Jeff and he wanted to list his house and I'm transparent with him and say, Jeff, listen, this is where the market is. I'm going to do a full analysis. I'm going to bring him the facts. How long do you want it to sell? This is what the market's bearing. This is how long it's likely going to sit if you want that price. And then he still doesn't want it to sit that long, but still wants that price. I have a business decision to make where if he's not going to follow the advice and go with me on this rod, then I can either take it and live with it or I can let it go. It's a business decision, right? It's not an excuse though. I can't complain about it then. I can't go and be like, well, Jeff's an asshole and he doesn't want to lower the price. Well, you took it. Did you have that conversation with him? That's number one. Did you tell him, hey, Jeff, listen, rates are up, bud. In order to get this price, I think we can do it. But here's the thing. Most of your buyers are going to come in this price point and they're going to be finance buyers. They're going to struggle to get approved at this rate. I can get you that price, but are you okay if we do a rate buy down? What if we do this? How about we mark it this way? Those are conversations. And if we have those conversations and he's on board, then we're good. Then I solved a lot of the problems that we're going to have. If he's not, then I have a business decision to make on whether or not I still sign that listing with Jeff or not, right? And if you do, just know what you're getting yourself into and stop complaining about it. There's nothing you can do. That's a business decision. So these, again, it comes back to just, for me, it's ultimate accountability. No excuses. Understand what the decisions you're making. Understand what you're working towards. And if you can do that, you're going to be in a much better spot.
Absolutely. And then one last thing on that one. The kids, they don't like this feeling of saying my bad, right? They much prefer the feeling of hell yeah, high five. So that starts the mindset of skill of saying, what can I do to get better? Because I'd rather have more of these and more of these, right? Yep. So internally, we got to do the same thing as well. Yep. So there you go, guys. That's our topics for today is mindset, motivation. And we, all of us, ourselves included, we constantly have to remind ourselves and just focus on that mindset and keep that motivation to keep rolling. So Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode.